Okay, good morning. I'm Jim Fergal. I'm the manager of Job Seeker and Veteran Services. Welcome. Believe it or not, I put in the chat room. Gosh, it's January 6, 2021. So new year, new opportunities. And I just wanted to start off on a positive note. Jobs are coming in. There was articles in the Tribune, as well as, we had a lot of jobs from Thanksgiving to Christmas, and they're picking up again on our work, our website as well. So to get you ready for that, I thought, well, let's go with applicant tracking systems and your resume. So again, I'm Jim Fergal, Job Seeker Veteran Services. Jennifer Wagaman is monitoring the chat room. She's a workshop facilitator, and Javon Morris is another workshop facilitator. Both of them will be in throughout the morning. Little Zoom etiquette, just pretty much be courteous. We are going to be using the chat room for any questions you may have. Please don't go on any, tangents or anything like that. Let's just stay focused. I'll tell you how I'm going to do this in a moment. We're going to have two parts because this is a lot of info. And just put any questions relevant to the slide that I'm on in the chat room, and either Jennifer will break in or I will break in and answer the question. Jennifer has put the ATS in your resume PowerPoint PDF in the chat room, and we will put it in again at the end of this presentation because I know people come in late, can't access it. So it'll be in there for you. If you go to our client portal, the website is right here. We do have worksheets that are part of the Job Search Bootcamp. On the resumes and applicant tracking systems, you have a worksheet, resume development worksheet, which is an outline, which is applicant tracking system safe, friendly. Chronological, hybrid, and functional resume examples. Accomplishment statements, action verbs, and words. Okay. So here's how I'm going to go through this. How applicant tracking systems work. I'll be calling them ATS. The importance of formatting and keywords and context. I'll show you some job aids and tools for the applicant tracking system. And then I'll take some general questions, and then we'll go into setting up the applicant-friendly format. Okay. So in the chat room, just put down how many of you have been aware of applicant tracking systems or have heard about them. Just say, yes, I've heard, or no, never heard of them. Okay, so most of you have heard of them. So how many of you use the same resume when you apply online for a position, or do you tailor it to the position? So you can just put same or tailored in the chat room. Okay. All righty. So what we're going to be talking about using the same, which is old school now. And those of you who are tailored are in the game. So we're going to talk about that today. So the purpose of the resume is to do what? Get a job, right? Get a job. I'm sorry. Let me back up here. I always say this at the beginning of my presentations with resumes. There's 3 types of resumes. I said the chronological, hybrid, and functional. There's 7 billion people in the world. There's 7 billion possible opinions. I would recommend that you keep an open mind throughout the presentation today. There is no ring on your resume, which means there's no wedding ring. You are not attached to it. It's going to need to change. What I'm going to go over today are things I've learned from 2 recruiters who have applicant tracking systems, one of which has 2 different applicant tracking systems. I had someone in my workshops who designed an applicant tracking system. And I was just, every time I do this workshop, every month, I read the latest and greatest on applicant tracking systems. So if you are not getting any response from your resume, please open up your mind and be willing to change. I've had people that once they made some of the minor changes, and a lot of it just has to do with formatting or putting in a few numbers, they start getting a lot of responses. I had one lady in the workshop, she was like, oh gosh, do I have to do all this? Well, that afternoon, a recruiter who had been trying to get her resume called her and said, you know, your resume is not coming into our applicant tracking system. And the job candidate says, well, what do I need to do? Everything I say today is what she had to do. And she came in the next day and says, Jim, everything you said. So I'm just making you aware of what's out there. I'm going to show you how applicant tracking systems work. Your name's at the top of the resume, but if you're not getting any interviews or calls or anything like that, please consider making changes. I once heard a presenter say there are no job search gods out there. It's not carved in stone. This stuff is changing every month. There's something new that's happening with applicant tracking systems. I used to say there was 405 applicant tracking systems. Yesterday, I went online and found out it's now 448 different applicant tracking software systems on the market today. Some are old and rigid, and the newer ones are more flexible. I'm going to talk conservatively because I don't know the enemy you're going up against. And if you just keep it plain and simple, you shouldn't have a problem getting through. First off, with the resume, the old days where you put an objective at the top, you talked about, oh, I want a challenging position with a growing company that's going to afford me promotional opportunities and pay for my degree. You don't even put objectives on anymore. You have to focus on the employer's need. And all they care about is, we want to hire someone who's a problem solver, who's going to make us money. Solving problems, making profits. Okay, that's it. I don't care whether you're an admin assistant, a forklift operator, director of, or CFO, anything. It's all about solving problems, making money. So in order to unlock the ATS, the mystery, the myth, if you will, let's look at what's important. So we have to identify what the keywords are. We have to use those keywords. What's the context? And then formatting is also critical as well, I found out. As I mentioned, there's 448 applicant tracking systems. The reason why these have been developed is because once you can apply online, once they figured that out, employers were getting inundated with resumes, and they need some place to store them. The applicant tracking systems are used by companies for their human resources or talent department, whatever you want to call it. We are concerned about the initial parts of the applicant tracking system, submitting the resume. Okay, it's like a cyber file cabinet, if you will. And then it tracks, and your resume's in there forever. They'll type in keywords for the position that they're looking for. It'll rate your resume. You'll come up. It'll track if you are called, phone call, video interview, types of interviews, reference checking. I mean, all this is tracked in there. And then if you're hired, and then the applicant tracking system is used for your employee record. You know, if you have to attend any of these mandatory trainings like ethics or sexual harassment or anything like that, it's all kept in your records until you leave the company. It's all there. So as an example, at a minimum, Google gets 2 million resumes per year. All these big companies, Google, Microsoft, Apple, are getting millions of resumes per year. They're averaging 4 to 5 resumes per minute. No human is reading your resume. It's first being put in these applicant tracking systems. And I'm going to show you that they're looking for keywords, nouns like HTML, Java, micrometers. It could be Bachelor of Science or it could be BS. You know what? However, it's listed in the job ad. It rates your resume on a score of 1 to 100. The closer you are to 100% match, the better off you are, the better your chances are of getting through. I want you to look at the picture in the middle of the screen, which is a screen, actually, a filter, if you will. And it filters out resumes that don't match. It's like your screen door. In the summer, it keeps the flies out. Only a few flies get in. Have you ever noticed? I know this happens to me every Saturday when I come in from shopping at the grocery store, is I have 1 or 2 flies that are smart, wait for Jim to come back from the store. As soon as I open up my screen door, boom, they're in my house. My mission today is to teach you to be those flies, is to figure out how can I get through the screen? Because ultimately you have to get to that human behind the screen. Now, the obstacles in your way, of course, is the applicant tracking system. In most places, you're going to have to apply and put it in there. But if you really want to get to the interview, it's going to be networking, making connections, people. And I know I've been laid off 7 times in 5 years. The last thing I wanted to do was talk to people. It's easy to isolate, especially now with the pandemic, but it's crucial for you to network your way into companies. One, because if you are referred by someone they trust, whether inside the company or a friend, you stand a greater chance of being interviewed and even a greater chance of being hired. All righty. So let's just go back to the ATS again. So the humans, what the humans like are action and results, okay? And numbers show us what you did. It's not just that you have to have the keyword, but dollars, percentages, numbers. It even rates the number of years that you've used a skill. So what these applicant tracking systems do is, and I'm sure all of you, if you've applied online, have gone through this, is that they might ask you multiple choice questions and they're scoring based, each question is weighted. Maybe they ask you what your level of proficiency is with PowerPoint, as an example. Are you knowledgeable? Are you experienced? Are you proficient? And if PowerPoint is something they want you to be proficient in, proficient will be weighted higher than experienced or knowledgeable. They use artificial intelligence, looking again for keywords, totaling up years of experience, years at a company, maybe looking at employer names, things like that. Even now with some of these video interviews, as you see down at the bottom there, number 6, they're even looking at your facial expressions for part of this interview process. They also do a keyword search for passive recruiting. You may have applied for a position, you didn't come up before, but now for some reason, the position, the keywords that they're looking for, you come up. Could be 6 months from now. In the old days, before all these applicant tracking systems, it wasn't uncommon for people a year later to hear from companies that they applied to that they're hiring. Also, this is how recruiters use LinkedIn. Is you can have LinkedIn and you may be actively looking, or you may just have your profile up there. They will type in keywords and look to see who comes up in their search. A keyword example under number 4 here is store manager. So that's very general. So they might look for anyone with store management, any retail experience. But maybe if it's Sports Authority or Dick's or something like that, they might type in store manager in quotes and sports and point of sale software and budget. Then they're getting very specific, and that narrows the choices even more. So what's happening is you're trying to get included in the interview, and what the HR people are doing, and even the hiring managers, is trying to eliminate everyone who's not qualified for the position and narrow it down to a few that look like they're going to be a good match. They're using video interviewing now as part of their applicant tracking systems. And again, they're watching your facial expressions, your eyes, your lips, all this stuff, how you talk, what your grasp is of languages. Some of you I know speak 2 or 3, 4 different languages, and I consider that an asset, having lived overseas for years. So this is interesting over here. And when applicant tracking systems first came out, I had a job seeker that brought me back a resume that looked exactly like this. In this example, they were looking for someone with a sales background. So what happens is every time the word sales comes up, it's highlighted, in this case, yellow, throughout the whole resume. And the job seeker actually brought back a resume that showed all the yellow highlights on all the keywords that they searched for. So this is what's happening here. And then on the other side of the presentation here, we have the ranking of the individuals. This person, Jason, had a 92%. The source was a careers website. Shannon had 85. Manju had an 83. So, and this Manju came from Indeed. So it also tells them where they're, what's the best source of their expenditures or recruiting budgets. Now, Recruiter Box, which is an ATS, is a newer one and shows how word stemming works. Your newer ones do this. We're going to look at the word over here. It says search text for project manage. So project manager came up, and variations of manager comes up. We have manager, manages, manage, management. Even managed would come up. That's word stemming. Your newer ones will pick up the variations of the core, the root word. What I've also found, I know Brass Ring takes the recruiter right to Facebook. These applicant tracking systems now are looking at your social media. So your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all this stuff. So all I'm going to say is be careful what you put on the web. Okay, it's going to come back to bite you. I'm sure some of you have seen people, I think it was at Brookfield Zoo, this one gal got hired at Brookfield Zoo and was, and then was talking about what a horrible place it was to work or something. She got fired as soon as she accepted the job or something. I don't know. But you got to be careful of the posts. So, and the rants and stuff that I see that come in that go viral, I've really learned to flip over the phone, walk away, and not say anything nowadays. I'll leave it at that. Keywords. What are they? Well, let's look at where you can find some of them. Recruiters may look for these keywords, and recruiters can be either internal to the company or external. Excuse me. They may look for position titles, industry names, niches, skill sets, name brand companies. Maybe Pepsi's trying to recruit someone from Coke. Who knows? Prestigious universities, degrees, certifications, trade shows, technologies, professional organizations, even by area codes. Although nowadays with Google Voice, maybe not so much. But I encourage you, if you speak multiple languages, bilingual, trilingual, list them. I had an admin assistant who was complaining, oh boy, I just got no feedback on my resume and I speak 3 languages. Turned out she spoke Italian, Spanish, and English. And I was just like, well, oh my gosh, you should lead off your resume with that and just park your car anywhere on 83 and start going door to door. You should have a job by noon, because they were looking for bilingual English, Spanish admins. So you got the skills, you have to put it out there. People can't read your minds. And if it's not on the paper, it's not in the ATS, they're going to overlook you. Don't assume, and you know how you spell that, you break it apart, that the employer knows everything about you from a resume. Here's some places you can look for keyword identification: BLS, Occupational Outlook Handbook, ONET Online, My Next Move, Jabera. I mean, all this is in the PDF. I'm not going to read through these, but you should know your keywords. When I got out of the Army, I was looking for trainer positions, Well, the Army, we called things a certain way. You know, the military has their language. Each occupation has their own language. So when I did some recruiting, I met a trainer and she was using words. I was like, wow, in the Army, we called it this. She says, well, in the training world, we call it that. See, I was speaking the wrong language. She was speaking Spanish. I was speaking Russian, you know, so you have to know your industry and the language. When in doubt, get about 5 job descriptions and just make a little cheat sheet for yourself. Write the word down and how many times it was used in a job description. You know, was project manager used in job description 1, 3, 4, and 5? Gives you some clues. Word clouds. Word clouds are used to tell you the number of times a word was used. To cloud, I like that because it gives you word stemming as well. And then also tag crowd. Those are free. Some of the keyword matching technology, jobscan.co. You get 5 free per month. You can actually copy and paste your resume and a job description. And all 3 of these will be able to identify it. The professional.me is another one, and Resonate. So free is great. I like JobScan in that it has some great articles on applicant tracking systems, how to beat them. It has a list of keywords. They really do a good job. So this is ToCloud. And what you do is in the box here where it says text, you can copy the text, copy and paste the text. I like going down here to display frequencies. Then you hit tag. And then this is what happens. This is a job description I was interested in. It was a workforce development trainer. You can see that it used human and human capital, but human and capital were also separated. Capital was used 4 times, human capital was used 4 times, yet human was used 6. It just gives you an idea of how many times the word was used, and variations, word clauses, training materials, workforce, working. Just something I use to just give me an idea of the bigger the word, the more important the word. So I'm going to show you what I do with ads. I do this when when I review resumes, especially now with the remote, is I read for an overview, try to figure out what the employer is looking for. I use keywords to find the keyword. I use word clouds to find the keywords. But then you have to go back and look and see how those keywords were used. I was with a mechanical engineer, and when we did JobScan, engineering was used 7 times. When we went back to the ad, 4 of those times were the type of degree that they wanted. So it doesn't mean you have to have engineering in there 7 times. It's just you need to use the variation of the word engineering. Highlight the skills and tools that they're looking for. Match your skills and start developing accomplishments, of how you use those skills. Write these stories out, because your accomplishment statements, just like behavioral interviewing, will talk about problem, action, result. What was the problem? What was the action? What was the result? And I know there's star, SOAR, and everything out there. I just figure there's a problem. You took some actions, and it turned out to be whatever the result is. I can't stress enough the importance of quantifying, coming up with numbers somehow, some way. And I learned this myself in an interview, a practice interview at a veterans job fair. I talked about what I do now. And at the, I don't know what the question was, but he says, you know, that's really good. You gave me the problem, the action, but you didn't give me the results. I was like, what? And I said, well, that's because I see people at the beginning of their job search. Not all of them get back to me. He says, well, you better figure out how to come up with some numbers. So what I had to do, and I'll be talking about this again at the end of the month, the 27th, is actually figure out what our metrics were for the grant. 70%. You know, we keep the grant every year. We make 70% of people get jobs. If we make 80%, then we get incentive monies. And every year I've been here, 25 years, we have always made 80%. So then I had to figure out how many workshops I've done on average, how many people attended, how many job clubs I presented at, how many external job clubs, and came up with a number around 10,000. So the way I look at this now is I've trained 10,000 job seekers, which contributed to an 80% placement rate for working at DuPage. You really got to drill down on this stuff. Quantify, I talk about that. Redo your resume to match and use JobScan and Resonate. Just please don't get hung up too much on the percentages. I know some of you will, but again, try to call people before you submit it. So this is what I do with a job description. The title of the position is Workforce Development Trainer. The color code is blue is what do they want me to have knowledge in. Skills are yellow, tasks are green, and then outcomes are italicized. So I just find it funny that people are now called human capital, but it is a government position, so what would you expect? Notice that it's subject matter expert. So in my resume, rather than putting SME down, SME, I'll put subject matter expert in parentheses SME. Where's it? Notice down here it says BA or BS degree. So that's how I'm going to list it on my education. Probably the safest way, because I always try to play the angles, is I would put Bachelor of Science degree in, I don't know, political science, and Bachelor of Science, parentheses, BS degree. And then this way I cover my bases. I hate to say you have to do that, but you have to do that, in my opinion. So this is what I do with people. Usually I give you a copy of this. This is jobscan.co, not com, co. You paste your resume, paste a job description, like this. All righty. Now this is the Workforce Development Trainer. It's what I do. Look at this. I only came up with a 26% match. Only 26%. Incredible, huh? So it says, you know, key skills that we're missing. Human capital appears 4 times in the resume, but not on the job. I'm like, wow. We did not find the job title. This is important for all of you. You need to have the exact job title of the position you're applying for at the top of your resume. And I'll show you how to change that later in your resume as well. You know, green check means that I had the bachelor's degree. Red X's means I don't have it. If you do the paid version, you can add the company name, web address, and it'll actually tell you the ATS system that's being used. Actually, if you look in the URL of the job description, you will find project manager /Taleo/abc.com. And that'll tell you, or it might say powered by JobFight. Also important is it shows you how your dates must be, months and years. It goes through here. The latest version is that the first high value ones you have to pay for now. I try not to pay if I don't have to. But it shows you that training was used 6 times on my resume and was 6 times in the job description. Here, human capital was used 4 times in the job description, but I don't have it at all. Consulting, I don't have, although I did it in the military, but it wasn't on my resume. And I might have to rework my resume, not talking about experience in the past, but I might put something in, a bullet point in my, and I'll show you later where you would put that right underneath my professional summary. Skill sets, soft skills that they're looking for, quantitative, subject matter experts. See, all these I was missing. Okay. Any questions on anything so far? Go ahead, put them in the chat room. That's an overview of the ATS. And what we're going to do is to get into resumes now. Okay. All right, thank you. As an Army officer, I was always taught to, excuse me, jump to the other side of the desk and look at the enemy. So I'm trying to inform you who the enemy is here at the ATS. Robin, very good about the wrong tense for your resume. And the ATS only picks up 1 tense. That is an issue that I've struggled with. That's why this word stemming that I was talking about earlier, your newer systems are much more flexible and will pick up variations of the word manage, managing, management. Your older systems, not so much. All righty. Can you access free tracking software package like you were using? Yes, you can just go to jobscan.co. Excuse me, you get 5. There's another one that's a variation, but their formatting is not right. I can't remember the name. It was done by some veterans, but it's JobScan, but they called it a different name and changed something in it. But I'd stick with JobScan. They seem to have everything up to speed. The professional.me is from one of our schools, Microtrain. But here's what I want you to remember, and this is what I was talking with a recruiter friend of mine. They will all give you the rating, the percent of match, but the key is also going to be formatting and context. And that's what I'm going to go to next. Let's see. Does it matter if it's 2 or 2? I've actually seen JobScan pick up the both ways, because what it does now is it tells you how many quantifiable accomplishments you have. And when you go through, I've noticed that it can pick up the words 2, and it can also pick up the numeral 2. Just put month and year, Larry. You don't need month, date, and year. It's hard enough to remember the month, let alone the year and the date. Okay. So let's get into formats, because this is key. Prime real estate on your resume is the top third, top half. It's like the iceberg and the Titanic. The guys in the crow's nest saw the top third. That's what got their attention. And then, of course, you know, the Titanic hit everything underneath. For you, the top of your resume talks who you are, the position you're going for, how you can help them, and why they should read further. And then underneath, the rest of the resume is going to talk about results, work history, accomplishment, skills, education, training, things like that. Font types are important. Your newer systems are becoming more flexible. I know when these things first came out, I learned to stay away from Times New Roman and these serif fonts, because when you italicize them, those letters would touch. These serifs, these things off to the side of the T here, if you italicize thin, the T and this part of the H would actually touch, and your older ATS systems would overlook that word. So thin or think was part of the key word, it would be overlooked and it wouldn't be found. Times New Roman is a safe one to go to now. I have a tendency to go with sans serif fonts like Arial, Calibri, Tahoma. Just go with basic fonts. Don't get fancy. Applicant tracking systems do not like fancy. I hate to say it. Just remember, software doesn't care about pretty. And I've been getting a lot of pretty resumes, which is nice if you're in a face-to-face with someone. But if you're applying online, stay away from them. It's like I don't know if I was going to say death knell or something, but anyway, doesn't work. Sans serif means, it's just plain straight letters. Strokes are even throughout. As you can see with serif fonts, they differ in thinness and thickness. So on the right-hand side here, you will notice that this is a very plain resume. This is what the applicant tracking system's like. I start with Arial 12 point, go down to 11. Calibri is fine. It's a smaller font size. You can see in font style, it's smaller. So you can go down to 11. I have heard in different presentations and from different recruiters, sometimes ATSs cannot pick up 10-point font. That's what I've heard. I would definitely not go to 9 or anything less, because then it's hard to read. You have to understand this will be printed off by the interviewer. Keep the same font size and style throughout. I've seen people with 22-point font for their name, 8-point font for their contact info, 14-point, and all different types of font styles as well. And one guy said, I don't know why my resume isn't being read. It's because there were so many fonts, it was like fireworks going off, like MTV. The person's eye could not focus. Okay, this is critical. Graphic free. And I know some of you are going to scream. I was just reviewing all this yesterday to make sure I'm current. Tables, columns, text boxes, verboten, X9, none. Don't use them. And I'll show you what happens in a little bit. No decorative lines, no pictures, no open hollow points, solid followed bullet points. Now, yesterday I was reading, excuse me, applicant tracking systems can now read italics, lines, and underlines. But I say cautiously. Remember at the beginning, I told you I'm very conservative. I am trying not to figure out ways to get thrown out. If it's an older system, italics or lines or underlines may not be read. So I don't use this stuff. It's not going to, I'm trying to minimize the risk and increase my chances of getting through the ATS, getting my resume read, quantified, and sent on. So get rid of tables, columns, text boxes, don't use them. I don't like templates either. No headers or footers. I've got some people that send me all their contact information in their header, and guess what? Applicant tracking systems can't read it. So they got a resume, but they don't know who sent it. No headers, no footers, no templates. And by the way, no logos. I've got some people who put logos on, which is like a picture, screws things up. Okay. Let's see. You don't need colored fonts and all this other stuff because the applicant tracking system, it's best just to keep it black. I'm just going to tell you that. Your lighter fonts can get overlooked in the applicant tracking systems. Keyword stuffing. When these things came out, everyone tried to figure out, how am I going to get around? What it is copying the job description or copying keywords, pasting it in white somewhere in the resume, and then it'll come up. But again, if it's got yellow highlights, they see all the yellow highlights in white. Or some people, sales, 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 and white, don't do it. Show it. Show what you've done. Solid bullet points. You can use bold headings. Start with 1-inch margins. I will go down to probably 0.8. That's about it. Anything less than 0.8, you're jeopardizing whether the resume will get through the applicant tracking system. Again, identify the keywords and skills, how they're used, and incorporating your resume. Here's what I mean. Let's take Excel as a key skill they want you to have. So in the old days, those of you who remember going to printers, print shops, you would maybe say, okay, I used Excel in my most recent position, and we were taught not to repeat, right? Because it's redundant. So you only said you used Excel in your last job, which was 3 years. Well, let's say the job ad is looking for 5 to 10 years experience with Excel. Well, you've only got 3 years experience showing on your resume. When in reality, each of your 3 jobs, let's just say you had 3 jobs, 3 years each, you actually had a total of 9 years. But because you only mentioned it once in your last job, you only get 3 years credit. So you have to list using Excel in all 3 of those jobs to get 9 years experience. Plus, okay, I just looked in the chat room. So you have 9 years experience. And what you also have to do now is show how you've used Excel. Used Excel to create the quarterly payroll spreadsheets or something like that, because that's the context. Robin, no, I would not say 20 years experience of skills that dates you. I would just put Excel as one of my skills and then show how you've used Excel in your most recent positions. 20 years can be a showstopper nowadays if you're worried about ageism. Save as docx or plain text. Fergal, J. Fergal trainer at docx. And this is important. Not all ATSs can read PDFs. So be cautious. We'll talk about that in a second. Would you put Excel as part of accomplishment statement or just show both? I would show an accomplishment statement. Like I said, used Excel to create a quarterly payroll spreadsheet. This is what a docx Word document looks like. Notice there's no lines. URLs are okay. But otherwise, there's no lines, there's no italics, no templates. And then this is a plain text. This is a text document on the right-hand side. PDFs. Now, PDF is a picture. It can be sent if it says in the job description PDFs are okay, but not all companies accept PDFs. So I would send it as a Word doc and as a text doc and not as a PDF, unless it specifies PDF. No, don't worry. I just said URLs are okay. Don't worry about the underlines in your email and LinkedIn. It will take those. I was just reading that yesterday. This is why I also don't like some of the templates that are out here, because, and I've seen this a lot, where you have this column of experience. Sometimes the years are over here. It'll read down this column first and then read this. It really screws things up. And then also, this format has job title first and years and the organization second. It really should be company, city, dates, and then position. Because what happens is the ATS will pull the company and parse it and put it in the company slot. Now, if your job title is in the company name position, project manager will be the company name and the organization will be ABC Company. So this is why format's so important. I think I found this yesterday because I've gotten some resumes like this lately. Pretty, isn't it? Wow, fantastic. You know, and I see this a lot with designers sometimes, and you know, it's all trendy. Great for in person. Here's what it looks like after the ATS. Oh my gosh. And because this is in a text box, this person's contact information doesn't come up. Doesn't come up. And all this over here gets all screwed up, okay? It merges stuff. Like here, research companies and generate 50 plus leads, and then it takes communications month using LinkedIn Sales Navigator awarded. What? It just meshed all this stuff together, like right here. It went right across and picked that stuff up. So it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah, Larry, beautifully doomed. Now, I know this takes up space, but you need to understand this. I see a lot of resumes where the phone number, the email, and LinkedIn is all one line. No. Your name has to be on one line. City, state, it's optional. Area code, still go old school, okay? And your Gmail and LinkedIn, all on separate lines, because it takes that information, pulls it, and puts it into boxes in the applicant tracking system. Notice I have no MBA or PMP after my name. The reason why is because Jim becomes my first name, Fergal becomes my middle name, and MBA becomes my last name. You can put that in the professional summary or somewhere in your resume down below. I've seen people put job title in the city and state. Guess what? That's where it goes. It doesn't go that you're anything more than that. Old school works best. Parentheses or a hyphen. Do not use dots. Let me say again, do not use dots. I know it's trendy, business cards and email, stuff like that. But when you're dealing with applicant tracking systems, do not use dots, okay? This is the one that gets people crazy. Generic resumes are dead. Now, I notice some of you are using the same resume when you're applying. Nope. You got to tailor your resume to the position. Here's my recommendation. Have a main resume, a foundation, a base. And then you take that resume and change it according to the position you are going for. Okay. You're going to have variations on a theme, but you have a main one. Or I might have one strictly for training, and I might have one for counseling. And then I'll have variations of those. I might be a trainer, I might be an instructional designer, might be a counselor, might be social worker. So I have to change the titles and the accomplishments that relate to the position. And here's the thing, it takes work, but this is probably the most important job you've got right now. And you got to spend the time to do it. And it's hard. I'm not going to blow smoke your way and say it's not. But if you're trying to get seen, this is what you got to do. I want you to think of your resume as clay. When we took it to print shops, it was carved in stone. 500 resumes, you sent the exact same resume everywhere. But now you can, it's like Play-Doh. You pick in different colors of Play-Doh, you mash them together, you make the giraffe or whatever you're making. And these are all different resume components that you can have in different orders too. So it's going to depend on this. I always say the adult diaper applies to job search. It depends. Depends on you, depends on the company, depends on the job. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. Excuse me. We have the plant manager, and this job title is going to change every position you apply for, unless all the positions are plant managers. Could be operations manager. What's this person do? Devises manufacturing and operating strategies that do what? Eliminate redundancies, increase production output. So now, here's what we do. Because if eliminate redundancies is what they wanted you to do in the job description, we have it listed once. And now we have a bullet with it bolded, and then an accomplishment with dollars, numbers, percentages, and then in parentheses, the company name. You have 2 or 3 of these at the time. I started using this back in 2010 to 2012 when people are out 3 years, 4 years, because I wanted to focus on their results, not their gaps. Try to stick with something simple, professional profile, professional summary, things like that. Now, let me show you something here. This is the exact same position, but 2 different companies call it different. This company, number 1, calls it a customer service representative. Company 2 calls it a customer care representative. So you have to change that depending on the position you're going for. I know it sounds, well, it's a minor detail. It's not minor, it's major. Because if this is the position they're looking for, this is the key word that they're using. These are the different types of skills. You have job skills, which are types of machines you've used, software skills, tools, functions, technical languages, foreign languages. And I would start off bilingual, in parentheses, English/Spanish, project manager. Okay. Start off with it. Transferable skills are attitude, communication. Personality traits are assertive, creative, tenacious. So I mentioned earlier not to use columns or tables. This is how you do your skill sets here. You can go across the page separated by a pipe. It's the key above the enter key, shift and that key. Notice that on either side of the pipe, there is a space. Because if there wasn't a space, it would be growth, pipe, team building, and then the applicant tracking system would not recognize that combined word. So you need a space on either side of the pipe or a slash. Commas are also okay, so go across the page. Jobscan.co has excellent articles showing what happens with columns as well. Professional development. If you go back to school, I'm just using microtrain here. It could be COD, any one of our schools, CTS. School first, location, and you have different stages. Currently enrolled in Agile Scrum Master training. Completed Agile Scrum Master, certified CSM. Don't put CSM after your name. Remember what I said. That becomes your last name. But you can put it in your professional summary. I'm going to show you two ways to do this. So first off, company name first, and then the position. That's the correct format that applicant tracking systems read your resume. Dates are going to be to the right-hand side. Notice with Workbench 2-page, I have my overall dates, 2005 to 2020. Then my years in each position, my dates in each position. Now here, I have career facilitator. But the position, if you remember to the first part of this, I had highlighted the job description. They were looking for a workforce development trainer. So I would have this in my professional summary, workforce development trainer. And then here, I just put it in red for your eyes. I would just put in parentheses, workforce development trainer. I could use a pipe, I could use a hyphen, but you see some of these trendier companies come up with some really bizarre names, and those names will not get recognized by the applicant tracking systems or even the human. So this is how you can get around that, or results, or you can just, I could just say workforce development trainer. These accomplishments, dollars, numbers, percentages are key. So for definitely for IT, I learned this from an IT recruiter, but I would say this could also be with admins, even factory. So specifically with information technology, you have your environment listing your hardware, software, and operating systems, and then show an accomplishment using your software operating systems, okay, or process. So that gives you 3 mentions of a skill. 1, you have it in your skills section. 2, you've listed it as the environment. And 3, you've used it in an accomplishment showing how you've used that skill. Remember Excel? You could list it at the top, Excel in a skills section. You could list it in the environment if it was a Microsoft environment, if you felt that would be important, but then show how you've used Excel. Same thing for Python or anything else, AWS. Listing your accomplishments. This is a whole workshop at the end of the month, the 27th. What are your accomplishments in previous jobs? These are questions to ask yourself. Again, make money, save money. What makes you proud? Always start there. What difference did you make? How did you solve problems? And think about things that you screwed up. You know, you're not going to put your screw ups on your resume, but as long as you're going through this process, you want to be ready for them for the behavioral interviews, because they're not going to focus on everything pretty. They're going to focus on the tough stuff as well. How to quantify. Saved X amount of time by making a certain improvement. Finished project X amount of time ahead of schedule. A lot of people tell me, oh, I completed it within the parameters. Well, how quickly did you complete it? How much money did you save by completing it ahead of schedule? Education. Start with your highest degree and go to your lowest university first, the degree. So here, this example is currently Roosevelt University, currently enrolled in Training and Development Graduate Program. Bachelor of Science, Political Science, or parentheses, I could also put BS, okay? Questions before I wrap this up? Any questions? Jennifer put the PDF in the chat room again. You can type questions in the chat room while I'm going through this. PDF's in the chat. You have counselors. This is the word, this is the code to email to your counselors. ATS 1621, that's today's date. ATS 1621, and let me put it in here. Code ATS 1621. Okay. You just email that to your counselor. I let them know that's the code for today, and then you get credit for using our services. Part of the grant is that you maintain contact with your counselor, and you have to contact every 30 days, and this would also count as a same-day service. Okay. Again, go to WorkNet New Page, the client portal. You will find this info here. The code is to be emailed to your counselor. You might have Jennifer as your counselor. You might have Mark as your counselor. You email the code to your counselor, and that lets your counselor know that you attended the workshop today. And then that's part of you fulfilling your responsibilities for the grant, which is to maintain contact with your counselor. Okay. What do we have coming up? Okay, so next week, how to prepare your professional summary. All these are Wednesdays. Jennifer, polishing your LinkedIn profile. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Good morning. I just unmuted. I will be talking about your LinkedIn profile and how to polish it, because a lot of people, when they're working, they don't really spend any time on LinkedIn. They're not looking at it. They're not connecting with new people on a regular basis, which I hope from this job search, you will continue to do all of that going forward. So then you're ready. But a lot of what Jim was talking about today on polishing up your resume, you can just cut and paste a lot of that information over, but you just want to know, how are you being found on LinkedIn? What are the strategies to use those keywords? So this is all going to overlap if you attend these weekly sessions. We really go into a deep dive. But if you go into the client portal and you watch those videos, which are available to you 24/7, those are really foundational, and you really should spend a lot of time there before you start sending your resume anywhere, because you're just going to be frustrated because of these tips that you're finding out. You're going to waste a lot of time if you would just stop and decide how to go forward with the current information. If you have not been in job search in quite a while, there's a lot that has changed. I was just watching an article today on NBC that said, job interviews are going to be video interviews, that more and more of that is going to happen. So again, we have, different workshops. Hopefully you can take advantage of all of these to, get you up to speed. You don't have to be perfect at it, just good enough to get a job, right?
Thank you, ma'am. And on the 27th, I will be presenting on developing accomplishment statements. So again, we'll talk a little bit about the applicant tracking systems, but focus more on being able to quantify. Robin, what's your question on ATS? Type it in, please. Okay. Let's see, virtual events coming up. We've changed the name from Job Club to Career Conversations now. And Jennifer, you're up again. You want to talk about don't get slammed by job scams?
Certainly. I've been doing this job scams workshop for many years, and this past year has seen quite a rise in scammers all across the board for all kinds of reasons. But the pandemic certainly, because people can now, instead of grabbing your purse on the street, they can just sit at their computer in their pajamas and try to get your identity information. So this has made it very simple for people, because it's a numbers game, and they know job seekers are very vulnerable because they're going to pick up the phone. They're going to talk to strangers, and you have to verify who you're speaking with before you can trust anybody. I don't care what they're talking about on the other end. Oh, we want to hire you. Well, yeah, it usually takes a while to get hired anywhere, but these people are, there's urgency, there's asking of your personal information. Don't fall for it. We've had many of our clients tell us that they've fallen for these scams, and the average scam is over, I think it's $1,900. I was reading these check scams. They'll send you a check and you deposit it. Don't give them your bank information. I mean, there's just so many red flags when you're getting these kinds of calls or emails or even text. They're doing a lot of this with text too. Verify who are you speaking with and what company is it, and are they a legitimate company? So again, we'll go into some of the tips that you can look out for, and we're just going to focus on job scams. I could talk for hours on job scams, and there's other scams too, with COVID, with the vaccinations, with the stimulus checks. Now we're getting another round of those, the census. I mean, it just goes on and on. So be careful out there. And there's some really good resources I'll be sharing.
Okay, something we're starting, and this will be once a month for the next 4 months, is I wanted to come up with what's happening in different fields, high demand fields. So on January 29th, we have career conversations, opportunities in high demand manufacturing. I have a panel discussion with representatives from 4 companies, human resources, plant managers. And we're just going to talk about their company, what positions they have available, what skills they're looking for, and what trends do they see. In manufacturing, it's not just machine operators. They could have warehouse, they could need accountants, they could need IT, robotics now. So there's a lot more positions than what you think in all these companies. February 12th, we'll be talking about healthcare. I have Edwards, Elmhurst, and Northwestern are 2. I think we'll be talking about with Marion Joy and a couple other organizations, maybe home health and stuff. Again, you can register down here in the workshops. All righty, let's see. If you want your resume reviewed, go to your counselor so that they can refer you to Jennifer and Javon have their caseloads. They have their people. They'll work with you on your resumes. Everyone else, go to your counselor to come to me. And then everything I just showed you is what we'll go over with your resume. Let's talk again about white space, putting the job description in the header and footer. One, it doesn't read header and footers. Two, you're trying to game the system and it's already programmed to kick you out if you're trying to game the system. Why would you want to put it in white? Just list the stuff. Show them what you did. Change. What I'm talking about here is, even for me, if I have to change my resume to the position. If I'm going for an intercultural trainer, cross-cultural trainer, I might talk about presenting to German social workers in German. But if I'm going for a counseling position, that might not be my number one bullet point. It might be something about developing career exploration seminar or something like that, or Myers-Briggs. You see, so you have to vary this to the position. One resume does not cover everything. You have to change it. And let us know when you get a job. You heard me mention earlier what our metrics are. We have to report back we have ROI. We have to report back to Congress because this is legislation. This is a Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. So we have to report back to them how many people get jobs. And also what they're doing is they require us to follow up 6 months, a year later to see if you still have a job, because this is their only way of knowing what's going on in the economy, because they're inside their little beltway bubble there. And as I mentioned, 70% we keep the grant, but if 80% of the people get jobs, we're able to serve more people. And like I said, in my 25 years here, we've always made 80%, even in tough times. So, and the other thing is, the counselors and even myself like to know, how do you find the job? What type of job? What's the salary? Are salaries going up? Are they down? Are you getting benefits? This kind of gives us an idea. Plus, there's a feel good, we work with you, we're reviewing your resume, we're helping you with interviews. And it's nice to see a positive outcome, because we see, not so pleasant outcomes sometimes. So,
Hey, Jim.
yes.
I just, over the holiday, the 2 weeks previous, I had 2 people get job offers. I had been talking with 2 of these ladies and they hung up the phone and then they got a call about a job offer. 2 different people. So I know I'm their lucky charm, first of all. And they're going to give me a percentage. No, I'm just kidding. There are jobs out there and people are getting hired. I had another gentleman too send me his employment status form, which you do need to complete. It's just 2 pages. It also lets us know what you enjoyed about the services you received, what helped you the most, so we can continue doing that. If you don't tell us and we don't get any feedback, we're going to keep guessing. We think we know, but we may find that there's certain things that are really helpful for people, and we'll do more of that. So we do appreciate the feedback. We're always trying to make these programs better. And it's just a short form, and it does inspire other people when we can use maybe, a phrase that you shared with us. We don't have to use your name, but we do want to tell people that people are getting jobs. But if you don't communicate and you just drop off the face of the earth, we don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's, how long I've been doing this. And I've always found it frustrating when I've worked with people and they give a lot of credit to some other agency or something. I know that's selfish or whatever, but it's just like, I like to know, and I have Fergal's All-Stars. I like using people as examples. So positive examples of that it works. Gosh, there was something else I wanted to say too. I'm sorry, I had a brain cramp here. Anyway, I'm sure after I end this webinar, it'll come to me. Anyway, so check out WorkNet2 page. The manufacturing one, it was only open less than 24 hours. We have 94 people signed up already, maybe more. So these things sign up. First come, first serve, getting in the door, because the max we can have is 100. And those will be recorded. Please go to our website. We have, gosh, over 20 different job clubs that are recorded for you. Everything on video interviews and all sorts of good stuff. So video interviews, resumes, recruiters, HR people talking about the hiring process. So take some time, get a cup of coffee, and view one of them and see it. Okay. I think that's about it. If there's no other questions, I think I'm going to end it. Okay. Okay, everyone. You have a good day and take care and enjoy your day.